Hello and welcome to this edition of The Market Share. I'm Paul Gifford, Chief Investment Officer at First Source Bank. Joining me as our special guest today is Kathleen Hennessy, Trust Counsel for Wealth Advisory Services at the bank. Kathleen, we talk a lot about different kinds of investments for our clients, but we also know there's other assets that they have outside of that. And one that we don't talk a whole lot about is digital assets.
That's right, Paul. Thank you for having me. So today what we'd like to talk about are digital assets, but not specifically cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, or any of that, although it will be part of what we will talk about. What we are here today to talk about are digital assets that no one really thinks about owning, but that they utilize on a day-to-day basis. As you'll see on our first graphic, this includes our email accounts, social media accounts, any of your financial accounts that you deal with online on a day-to-day basis. It also deals with a possible cryptocurrency account, but also things that you don't really think about so much, like government accounts, retirement accounts. In particular, the IRS now requires that we file our tax returns online, and now you've got an online account with the IRS. But there are also loyalty accounts that you have with grocery stores, gas stations, other department stores, and your kids even have a digital footprint with their Xbox and PS systems that you control. So there are lots of assets out there that have made estate planning and estate administration a little more difficult. One of my roles here at First Source Bank within the Wealth Advisory Services Group is to manage the post-death settlement, the estate settlement group. And when I was doing this back in the day, back as far back as the 80s, it was actually a little bit easier to collect and identify the assets of someone when they became disabled or when they died. What we would have to do is just have the mail forwarded, and within a couple of months, we would have all of the bills that had to be paid, as well as statements for their bank accounts. And we might have to wait till the end of the year or the beginning of the year to get 1099s or year-end statements, but within a few months, we would have a complete picture of their assets and their liabilities. Unfortunately, or fortunately, technology has made this a little more difficult for us on the estate administration side. So we can't really forward the email accounts or forward the online accounts that people have these days. So we have problems with sometimes identifying these assets, and we need to dig a little deeper to figure out what they are. So that's made life a little more challenging on the estate administration side.
Wow, I looked at the list when you were putting it together, and there's over 20 kinds of digital assets that you identified, so I can only imagine how hard it is when you're doing estate settlement. What are some of the things that our clients can start to think about when they want to be managing these digital assets?
Well, there are certain things in place already. Some of the online account managers have inactive account management systems set up, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, so that if an account is inactive for a certain period of time, then they have rules within their terms of service as to who might then have access. So you'd have to look at those terms of service, which of course we all read very carefully. But if you look at the next graphic, another tool that we have is the Revised Uniform Fiduciary Access to Digital Assets Act, which, even though I've said it many times, gets difficult every time. What this act does is provide a framework to manage digital assets through your estate planning documents. So we can work with your attorney and make sure that this is addressed in your current estate planning documents. Maybe it's already there, but you might need to have an update to make sure this is addressed. So first of all, what the Act allows is that the online users get to decide whether their digital assets will be destroyed or whether they can be saved and distributed as they direct. It also protects privacy interests. So initially, this is the revised act because the initial act just gave the regular executor full access. The online companies pushed back with concerns about privacy, which was very legitimate, and the estate planning community then created this revised act. So it prevents companies from disclosing email and social media content without the express consent of the online user, and that's really a plus. The third point is that it creates efficiency and certainty because now we have a uniform set of laws standardized across all states except 3 currently, but it's still in the works in those. And having this enacted gives us a law to manage digital assets when someone dies or becomes disabled that is the same throughout all the states.
So Kathleen, that's great that we have this act to help our clients go through the process and for you to help settle estates. As we were thinking about this for our clients, we were trying to look for a tool to help them out. And our research partner, Federated Hermes, actually has a digital asset questionnaire. How might that tool help our clients in identifying and managing their digital assets?
Yes, Paul, that's a wonderful tool that they've allowed us to share with our clients. And what it does is give you a one-stop shop, a one source to collect all of the information on any of your mobile devices, any passwords, usernames that you have on email accounts, social media accounts, any of the accounts I listed on that first graphic, and many more. So as you see on the graphic, this is one tool that will allow you to create actually a digital asset plan. So once you have collected all the information about your digital assets and usernames, passwords, and collected that in one place, the next step would be to choose a digital executor and also trustee agent, but someone who will have the ability to manage that account in your absence, whether that's because you're disabled or whether you've passed away. And this is someone who would be different, or could be the same, but generally might be different than the regular executor that you would name to handle your estate. So for example, if you were naming First Source as your administrator for the estate, maybe you wouldn't want the bank to have access to your email and social media accounts and all your photos. But then you need to provide instructions for this digital executor as to how your assets are to be handled. So you can direct exactly where you want each account to go and how you want each account to be handled, whether it's saved, distributed, sorted out, where your photos go out to your family, your music, whatever you need to have done or want done with those. The fourth point here is one of the most important, which is that you need to safeguard this list. So once you've gone to all the trouble to put it together, now this is any hacker's dream. So you want to make sure that this document is kept in a safe, secure place with your other important legal documents such as your will and trust. But you also want to make sure that your digital executor has access to it, knows how to access to it, and knows where it is. Finally, it's also really important to keep the information current. Because again, you don't want to spend all your time having put this together and a year down the road, it's all out of date. As you know, Paul, a lot of our financial accounts require us to update our passwords on a pretty regular basis. So as you update those passwords, you want to make sure you're updating the list and then again putting back in its secure location.
Well, Kathleen, thank you for sharing with our clients the importance of the digital assets and a tool that they can use to help manage those. If you are interested in receiving that digital asset questionnaire, feel free to click on the link in your email. If you are a first-time viewer of the Market Share, we encourage you to subscribe to the regular Market Shares that we produce at firstsource.com. And if you like the video, we also encourage you to share that with your friends and family. As always, thank you for the opportunity to serve you and your family, and have a great day.